Hey everyone, this is Theo from parkerblogs.com. Welcome to another tech review. Today I'm going to show you the XP Pen Artist 15.6 pen display. A pen display is basically a monitor that you can draw on. You need to connect this to a computer in order to use this. So today I'm going to talk about the pros and cons and show you the drawing functionality. Special thanks to XP Pen for sending me this review unit so that I can show you guys on my YouTube channel. This video is going to be a bit long, so if you want to save some time, you can also check out my text review, which I have already written. I will put the link in the video description below. So let me start this review by showing you all things that are included in the box. This is the box, and these are all the things that are included. We have the manual, cleaning cloth, warranty card, driver installation CD. We have one artist glove here, and this is the wall charger. So it's a double flat pin, but they have also included different international plugs here, and it's very easy to use them. Next, we have this HDMI to mini display port adapter, and this is a USB extension cord. You may or may not need to use this. The last cable we have here is a multifunctional cable. On this end we have a USB Type-C port, and on the other end we have these three connectors. This is a full-size HDMI, and this will go to the computer. If your computer doesn't have a HDMI port, then you will need to get an adapter. The only adapter included is the one that I showed you earlier, the HDMI to mini display port. And these two are USB connectors. This red colored one, it will go to the power outlet. It may not be necessary to use this if your USB port, the one that is on your computer, if it has sufficient power, you can just use one single USB port to power your display. And this is also the port that will get your pen display and your computer to work together. This is the pen and the stand that are included. The pen is mostly plastic. There is no rubber grip, but it's not slippery when holding it. It's quite lightweight. Two buttons on the side, and this is the nib. On the other end of the pen we have nothing. This pen does not require any battery to work, so you do not have to charge this pen. With the stand included, you can put the pen horizontally like this, or you can put it vertically like this. However, it feels like this stand, it wasn't designed specifically for this pen, because when you put it like this, it sort of wobbles. So this is not a very good fit. It feels quite loose. Let's take a look at the replacement tips that are included. So you just have to twist this anti-clockwise and it will open up to review the replacement tips. There are 8 included, and on this side here, this is the nib remover. You just have to put the pen like this and pull out the nib. The pen supports slightly over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, so it's very sensitive. I'll talk more about the drawing functionality later. There are 6 side buttons here that you can configure to any keyboard shortcut that you want. This is the power button. These 2 buttons will control the brightness, and this is the USB Type-C port. So there is only one cable that's connected to this display. You just need to use one single cable to provide the video input and the power to the display. And this cable is connected to my laptop right now. So this goes all the way to this. This is the HDMI, and this is the USB. And my laptop, the USB port is providing sufficient power to power the display, so I do not need to use the wall charger. By the way, all those things that you saw earlier, the cables, the pen, the stand, the wall charger, they were all individually wrapped in their own plastic packaging, and that includes this pen display as well. In addition to being wrapped with plastic, there is also an additional plastic that protects the screen when you first take the display out of the box. You have to peel off the plastic to reveal this screen, and this is a matte surface screen. It is not reflective, it will diffuse all the light. This is actually a screen protector as well. So the actual screen is, I think, reflective and glossy, but they pasted a matte screen protector over it. And as you can see, my screen is a bit dirty. That's because I've been using it for a while, and there are some slight scratches already on the screen protector. This screen measures 15.6 inches. The resolution is 1080p. And for a screen this size, I think that resolution, it works quite well. It doesn't make things too pixelated, so everything is still quite sharp. However, the matte screen protector, it actually affects the sharpness of the screen, but that's just the way it is. I have a matte screen protector on my iPad Pro as well, and it affects the sharpness of the iPad. Now, this display is not particularly bright. I measured it to have 160 nits, so it's not as bright compared to desktop monitors. And right now it looks a bit washed out because I have a huge light source. My window is pointing light at this. When you're actually working on it, it should look something like this. So this is an IPS panel. The viewing angle is quite good. The colors, they do not shift as much when you are viewing the display at different angles. Color reproduction is quite decent. I use a lot of monitors, so I need to color calibrate every one to make sure that I see consistent colors across them all. And I used a color calibrator to calibrate this screen as well. And I managed to get a readout of 78% sRGB and 60% Adobe RGB support. For an IPS panel, those readouts are considered average. A good IPS panel can give you up to 99% sRGB, but here we only have 78%. I would say that the colors are decent straight out of the box. You may not need any additional color calibration. It's just that my computer is configured to work with another monitor. That's why I need to calibrate this screen. Let's talk about the main differences between the Artist 15.6 versus their previous model, the XP Pen Artist 16. The first main difference is the screen here. It's now matte surface. The previous model, they use a glossy reflective screen. I prefer this screen, and also the matte surface. It's much more satisfying to draw on because of the additional texture. Now the second difference is the pen. It no longer uses a battery, so you do not need to charge this pen anymore. And pressure sensitivity has increased to slightly over 8,000 levels, and this pen is very sensitive. However, I actually do not see much difference between 2,000 levels versus 8,000 levels. The next difference is the design of this display. This display has a much slimmer profile, and no stand is included this time. This stand is my own stand, by the way. So the display is like this, and if you want to draw on the display, I do recommend that you get some sort of stand, because if you put the display like this on the table, I feel that it's a bit uncomfortable and it's quite bad for the posture, especially if you are going to be using this for a long period of time. So definitely get a stand to prop up your display, or you can use some thick books to put behind. There are two big pieces of rubber fit behind, by the way, so it's not going to slip on the table, but this is not very comfortable to draw on for long periods of time. This stand that I'm using, this is the Artisu Freestyle stand, and this is a very good stand because you can use this with any slim profile pen displays like this, or you can use it with any tablets like the iPad or whatever Samsung or other brand tablets that you have. To use this, you just put the display on it. That's why I like it so much. You can use it with any other tablets. If you're interested in getting the stand, I will put the link in the video description below. Now the other difference is with this new model, you just need one cable to the display. With the Artist 16, they have the power brick, so you need to connect the power, you need to connect the video cable as well, But this display, it doesn't use that much electricity, so it can be powered by a single USB port, provided that your USB port has sufficient power to drive the display. So you may not even need to use the wall charger that is included. Let's take a look at some of the settings that you can change with the drivers. So I'm using a Mac. This is the Mac version driver. The Windows driver is slightly different, but most of the functionality are the same. So with the pen, you can assign specific shortcuts to the two buttons. You can assign a keyboard shortcut as well if you want to. And this is where you can change the pressure sensitivity of the pen. For the Windows driver, they give you the pressure curve, which I find it to be more functional. This is the monitor setting. This is where you can change the express key settings. So there are 6 physical shortcut buttons, and you can assign specific keyboard shortcuts to each one of them. This is where you can calibrate the screen to remove parallax. When I'm using the display for drawing, this is exactly what I will see. The cursor is almost directly beneath the tip, provided you have calibrated the screen properly. For left-handed users, you can turn the screen 180 degrees so that the buttons can go over to the other side. On the Mac driver, you do that through the calibration tab, and you click here at 180 degrees. So now the screen is upside down. You can turn the display upside down as well. Alright, let me show you how the pen and the display performs when it comes to drawing. Let me just draw some very quick lines first and zoom in to let you see how smooth the lines are. So they are quite smooth. I noticed a tiny bit of wobble or jitter. So earlier on I was drawing at 100%. Usually when I draw at 100%, there is this slight jitter, and now I'm zooming to 300%. I'm going to draw the same lines again and let you see if there are any jitter. And now they look very smooth, and the transition looks quite nice as well. By transition, I mean the way the lines they taper. With some other pen displays, they have a very weird tapering effect, but here it's smooth, so this is great. Let me draw the lines a bit slower to see if I can achieve a straight diagonal line. This is about as straight as I can get without using a ruler. And this is very good. Let me show you the transition between thin to thick. I do notice some lag, and that is actually specific to this version of Photoshop that I'm using. It's not because of the pen display. By the way, earlier on I tried to do some finger gestures, but this is not a real tablet, so you do need to use the shortcut keys or use your pen to move the canvas around. I've also set the keyboard shortcuts to the side buttons here, which is off the screen, but I have set them to change the brush size. The clicks are nice, they have a very firm feedback, so that is great. So let me draw something quickly. Overall, the drawing experience is quite good. Now the matte screen surface on this display, the matte screen protector, it feels very nice to draw on. It has that paper-like texture, which is fantastic. And the lines, they come out just the way I want them to be. So when I want it to be thin, they are thin. When I want it to be thick like this, it's thick. It's very predictable performance, and that is something that I always look for when I want to get a pen display. This is Adobe Illustrator on the Mac. By default, pressure does not work. You have to install the Wacom Intuos driver in addition to XP Pen's driver in order to get pressure working. And after you have installed both drivers, and hopefully they do not conflict, you have the option to turn on pressure. And now pressure works on Illustrator. This is MIDI Bank Paint Pro. Pressure works here very nicely. And this software, it has less lag compared to Adobe Photoshop. You can use this to draw some dots as well. But if I actually press down like this, no dots will come out. I do have to press down slightly and move a bit in order to get those freckles. This is Mischief on the Mac. It supports pressure as well, and it's quite smooth. This is Krita. Pressure works really well here. The pen is really sensitive, and I can get all this thin and thick transition very nicely. This is Clip Studio Paint on the Mac. Let me select the G pen and show you some quick strokes. Alright, I think you can see the problem I have here. The start of the strokes, they have this blob here which makes this pen unusable. Let me choose the real G pen and see what happens. So with the real G pen, that blob, it doesn't appear. Let's try the mapping pen. I have some slight blobs as well. Let me try and move the canvas around. I cannot move the canvas around. I'm pressing my spacebar to get into the hand mode to pan the canvas around, but I cannot do so. I need to press the spacebar and use my mouse to move the canvas around. For some reason, I cannot use the pen to move this canvas around. Let me try the turnip pen. It's fine here, no ink blobs. It's just that with the real G pen, I get that ink blob. Let me try some other brushes. This is India ink. Let me try Bit Husky. It works fine. Pressure works here, by the way. Rough. This works fine as well, and as you can see, there is very minimal or no lag at all. This app is very responsive. And now I'm on Windows 10, so this is how the driver looks like. It's different compared to the Mac driver in terms of look. Here we have all the settings on one page. On the Mac, they use the multi-tab thing. The main difference here is with the Windows driver, you can set the pressure curve, and this is the curve that I like. I prefer the pressure curve compared to the slider, so this is good. And here you can assign specific keyboard shortcuts to the 6 physical buttons on the side. With Windows, you can rotate the screen by clicking this display setting and going in to click this 180 degrees rotation. And now the screen has turned upside down. And once again, we have Photoshop. So let me just do the same thing I did earlier. Let me zoom in. So these lines, they were drawn at 100% and they look quite smooth to me. And let me draw the lines again, slower. And this is very good as well. I can draw diagonal lines very straight. Even though my hand is actually jittering slightly, but I'm still able to get a straight line. So this is very good performance. Let's try the thin and thick transition. I feel that there is less lag with this Photoshop on Windows compared to my Mac for some reason. So the transition is quite smooth. This is great. The pen is once again very sensitive. You can see the transition. This is very smooth. Let's see how the lines taper. For some lines, they taper quite gradually, not all lines. Let me show you which are the lines that taper gradually. So these lines here, they taper very nicely, but some of these lines here, you can see this transition, it tapers quite abruptly, relatively speaking. Let me try that again. And now it's gradual again. So I guess it just takes some time to get used to drawing on a new product. This is Adobe Illustrator, and this is the brush setting dialog box. Let's see if I can choose pressure, and this time I can choose pressure. I'm going to set the variation to maximum, click OK. So pressure sensitivity works on the Windows version of Illustrator. This is Medibank Paint Pro on Windows, and once again it works very well. Pressure works, it's very smooth, there is no lag at all. The lines come out the way I want them to be. This is Krita on Windows. Pressure works really well and very responsive here as well. This is Sketchable, the tablet app that can also run on Windows desktop version, and it looks like there is no pressure, and that's because you need to turn on the settings here. There is this Windows ink settings that you have to check on. And now using the same brush, I have pressure. And pressure works well here. The lines here are also very smooth, and there is no lag with this app. This is Clip Studio Paint Pro on Windows. So earlier, the Mac version, it has the ink block problem. So let's choose the G Pen again, the one that has the problem. And on the Windows version, it works fine. Very responsive, the lines are very smooth, the lines taper very nicely. The transition from thin to thick, that's very nice as well. It works fine here. Let's choose the real G Pen. This is a bit too thin. Let me increase the brush size. It works here very nicely. I think it works better with Windows compared to Mac. We are almost at the end of this video, so let me just give you a very quick pros and cons recap about some of the important things that I have talked about. I have a long list that I have written on my website. Let me just go through the important ones. The build quality of this pen display, this is fantastic. It feels very solid, and I like the new design, which is very slim, but the downside is there is no stand included, so you have to find some way to prop this up when you're drawing. I like the fact that the new pen, it doesn't require charging anymore because it doesn't have a battery inside, and this pen is very sensitive. With most of the apps that I use, it's quite responsive and it performs quite predictably, so this is good. The drawing experience depends a lot on the apps that you use. So earlier on, I showed you some issues with the Mac version of Clip Studio Paint, but on Windows it works fine. Other things that I like would include the matte surface screen, which is really nice to draw on, but it can be a bit prone to getting scratches, and it's a bit easy to get dirty, so you might have to wipe this down after each session. And let's take a look at things that I may have missed out. The color reproduction is alright, it can be better, but this is definitely very acceptable for a display at this price range. One thing that I did not manage to show you is sometimes when I'm moving my mouse on the screen, the cursor would appear somewhere else randomly. Usually if I put my mouse here, for example, the cursor may appear here. So I have to lift my pen up like this and put it down like this so that the cursor can appear. It happens very randomly, and there is no way for me to replicate this, and this happens on both Windows and Mac, so that can be quite irritating when it happens. And one last thing that I forgot to mention earlier, it's another glitch on the Mac, which I'm going to show you right now. This glitch on the Mac, it annoys the hell out of me. So normally when you click on an icon here, it would just click to select an icon. But notice what happened earlier. I click on this folder and immediately it jumps into the folder. It should be a single click, but when I click with the pen, it registers as a double click. It is very annoying. Why is it annoying? That's because if I want to select several files, for example, to drag to another folder, so let's say I want to select these files here, I can click one, oops, it opens up, which I do not want it to open up, and there is some double click issue again. I want to shift click some of the files and notice that they just open up because every time I click on the icon, it double clicks. And this happens in the list view of the Finder. So if I switch to, let's say, the icon view, it works fine. I can click on this, control click to select multiple files, it's fine. It's just that when I go into list, I cannot control click. This is what happens, and this is so irritating. This can be a deal breaker as well. As you can see, that is very irritating, and that only happens on the Mac. On Windows, it works fine, so it is most likely an issue with the driver. And that's all for my video today. I know this is a very long video, but I hope at least this is helpful. And if you have any questions, do feel free to ask me in the comment section below. If I have any updates to my review, I will put that in my text review. The link will be in the video description below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.